This is Jennifer with the Garden of Enlightenment. Stephanie?
My name's Stephanie.
Hi, I'm April.
This is Waking Up with Wisdom, and today we have a special guest, Kari, with a silver lining.
Hi! We're on take 2 here, so we're a little bit giggly.
Yes, we're on take 2. We've been, of course, tech issues, but Waking Up with Wisdom is an Ascension talk show where we invite a guest on to share their experience about their awakening story, what happened, what they went through, and where they're at now, what they're doing, and if they're doing anything to help the collective. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor and ask you, tell us, how your awakening story, when it happened, and your experience.
Right. Well, to begin, just kidding. My story actually started when it was in 2013, and it kind of started off with just simple stuff like watching Ghost Hunters, because I was never into anything like that before. I didn't have any preconceptions with religion or God or ETs or metaphysics or anything, but I kind of got into the ghosty stories a little bit. That interested me, and those breadcrumbs kind of led me into channeling Eric Medus, and I know some of you will be familiar with him, and those that aren't, that's something you really ought to go check out, because if you are on this path, then there's so much information that it would kind of surprise me if you haven't heard of this guy yet. But what happened is, I just kind of, it's an interesting story about how I got to him, but I did, through, a series of clues, make my way to Eric. And the following year, I went to what he called the weekend of fucking enlightenment, and it was out in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, at Jamie Butler's Center for Love and Light, and I still didn't really know anything about this kind of stuff. And I tell this story all the time, so if people have seen me on different shows, they're already going to know this story. It's my favorite one of my favorites. And so Jamie trance channeled Eric, and I didn't know what trance channeling was. So I'm sitting there, I'm fascinated, and I actually literally have my fingers in my mouth chewing on them like a cartoon would. So she's trance channeling Eric, and he stands up in her body with his eyes closed and hugs his mom. And then he hugs his dad. And then he sits back down, and through her closed eyes, he goes, and he jumped up, and I jumped up, and we threw our arms around each other, and it was the most intense feeling. There was so much love, and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know anything. And I was still in a mindset. I had a concept of past lives, but I thought we only had one. We had this one and a past life. So I'm asking him, say my name, because I wanted him to tell me the name of the other incarnation that we had together, not realizing that I probably had, thousands of names as far as he was concerned. So I never did get a name, but that moment prompted a friendship with me and his mom, Alisa. And I'm telling you guys a completely different story than the first one. But and Alisa happens to live here in Houston. So when, like a month later after this big event, she invited me over to her house, and it was just me and her and one of her channelers, Robert. So I felt like I was just like the luckiest girl ever. I had like a medium all to myself all afternoon long. And I did get some information. Everything was still so new to me. And I knew, because of that, that moment with Eric, I just knew that there was something. I knew it. So I was on this quest to figure out what it was. And when I started to really wake up, it was in July of 2014. And what was happening was that I was tapping into another life with him. And what was once started off as like a fun kind of crush on this dead kid I never met. I was having fun with it. It became something very painful, and it would bring me to tears every time I thought about him. I wasn't realizing that I was beginning my awakening and cracking wide open. Yeah. So Eric suggested that I leave all of the Facebook groups that he was associated with because it was becoming toxic. And I found this out through a reading. And then so I did. And right when that happened, soon after, I connected with somebody else who the universe led me to. And that was my, the man who I would experience my first twin flame vibration relationship with. And I had connected with him online for about in a 5-minute chat after being friends and not really thinking twice about him for a few months, but just he's getting my attention through my number 17. He'd post all these 17s that he didn't even realize he was doing, but that was my breadcrumb trail to him. So after just messaging back and forth for about 5 minutes, the very next day I was hooked, clinging to this guy for dear life. And I didn't even know him. I believed at the time that he was to represent a past life, that other life with Eric, and that I was supposed to work out what didn't get finished in that life. I believed that Eric had killed himself in this life and that he also killed himself in that life. So this other guy was here to be a surrogate for that. And in a way, that was true because I didn't finish that work with Eric in that other life. He was killed. That's a whole other story. You can find it on my show, Silver Linings. Did you watch that one with the brothel and the? Anyway,
I started to, yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. That one's cool. But but what I didn't realize though is that this new guy was the twin, and I went on like a 4.5-year journey of, self-growth, self-empowerment. Mostly it was just stripping away all the shit that the world has dumped on me, which is what we are all doing on this path to ascension. We all have different ways. We all give up our power in different ways. Some people give it up to their parents. Some people give it up to their boss, their spouse, whatever. I gave it up to my mother, and I gave it up to the men that I was constantly trying to find love from in, my younger years. So the twin represented all of these fucked up experiences I had with men all rolled into one person. So it was very intense. All of the pain of all those men mixed in with me tapping in to other lifetimes of romantic love with this twin, or maybe not even other lifetimes, but just the connection we have on the flip side. So it's a very intense time. My crown chakra blasted wide open, and I had not necessarily memories, but hurts load into me. So I would feel the emotions, but not be able to discern where they were coming from. I didn't know my crown chakra open. I didn't know I had it. I didn't know what chakras were. So I went insane. I mean, I was like padded cell material. My doctor even wanted me to go see a psychiatrist and wanted to put me on, the hardcore bipolar medications. A week later, I had a reading, and my higher self said, so don't be surprised. I know she knows what happened, but don't be surprised if you go to the doctor and they suggest you go to the psychiatrist. And I laughed because I knew that just happened. So what happened with me, though, I continued to grow and peel and purge. And, it's such a challenging journey. But I got stuck at the end of mine. And I go into bigger detail in the video I'm about to release on my own channel about what had happened, why I got stuck. But I did. So the universe found another vibration that would match and suit my purposes, and I relived the entire relationship again. I'm calling it a relationship. It wasn't a relationship. It was an experience. I relived it again, almost identical. Things that happened were the same, but the man was different. The dynamic was different. He wasn't a stranger. And with the first one, I knew it was spiritual in nature. I knew it was meant to heal past lives, past this life. But this new one felt like a true relationship, so I didn't recognize it for what it was. So another 1.5 years later, I'm at 6 years now, this just happened like 2 months ago, I'll come to the end of the journey. I finally come to realize the futility of clinging to this second twin. I figured out, I can't believe I didn't know what it was. What I really believed it was the second one was brought into play. And because it was so much easier, because I was in a better place, I believed that this one was healing the hurts caused by the first one. Mm-hmm. So every time something happened, it was better because he communicated with me and he patched my heart up a little bit. But no, that wasn't at all. It was just a more, mature and respectful relationship, that it was the same thing again. So when that finally clicked into place, unlike with the first one, I had to get to a place of hating him in order to break away. But the next one, I already had the experience under my belt, so I was able logically to say, okay, I get this. I'm chasing this man because I have an expectation of an outcome. I'm letting this control me. So once I surrendered the control of an expectation of a specific outcome, that's when I became free. I learned the futility. This is never going to happen as long as I chase. Now that I've let go, I don't know what will happen with the second twin, because as we talked about before in the twin flame, what I call mythology, you are kind of, you're kind of expecting this union to happen, this magic moment between the romantic dynamics. Not all twin flame dynamics are romantic, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to be talking about that one today. And so the first one, I still believe that it will come to fruition, and I don't think that's a hope so much as a knowing. But the other one I'm completely on the fence about. I don't know or not, and I think that was my guide's way of getting me to let go. Because as long as I know that next part was coming, I just kept waiting for him and waiting for him. So now I'm truly at a place where I hope it with all my might. I want that magic. I want that electricity of this person I've tapped into. But I had to give that up. So I truly don't know what's next for us. Other than that, we will connect again as at least friends. So I just rambled on for like a whole hour. Sorry about that.
No, and I like how you said that, yours was 2 months ago. My separation with mine was 2 months ago.
That's trippy. My first one was like a year and a half ago. What's weird is that I unplugged from one and right into the other.
Mine was, and I, the same exact thing. That's the message exactly that I got, was that I need to let go. And, because within our relationship, there were periods of where we separated, I spoke earlier because of my addiction, and that was one of our separations, and it was on his part. So this time it came from me, and it was because I was told, look, you've got to leave this situation. You've done your growing. It's time for the other one to do their growing.
Yes.
And like 2 months ago, and when I started researching the twin flames, it seems like, I don't know, that's something that's going on right now with the collective, especially with the twin flame dynamics.
Maybe we'll find that out. I mean, because that is interesting. And you know what I am finding interesting? I told you girls earlier that I haven't really met very many others with this experience, and I've been under the impression that many of them are like mine. I mean, I spent like 5 minutes with both of mine, and you guys are both having like full-blown relationships with yours. So that's a completely new concept for me.
And I think that's a big thing too, is people want to put the twin flame in a little box, thinking it's all the same. It's almost like, the runner, the chaser, and whatnot, and it's not. And I love the fact that you mentioned about the whole the fairy tale. A lot of people do. They think, your twin flame, it's going to be beautiful, reuniting, and it's going to complete you. It's not. It's messy, and each of us have our own experience going through it. But it's not, and a majority are not pretty. It's a lot of work. It's really bringing out, like, I love the analogy that you used about peeling off layers. It makes you work, especially.
It really does. You unfuck yourself. And, it's like the other day I was in that resolution video I did. It's like, I haven't changed. I'm the same person, but all the shit's come off. So I can react in different ways, and I can, really not react to the things that once really hurt me. So it's not like I've changed so much as that I'm more pure. I don't know if you know what I mean.
You're evolving.
I sure am. And April, you had to step away before when you asked for some advice. I'm glad you came back, because now I'm going to repeat my story with you here.
Yes, please do.
And she asked me, what is some kind of advice that you would give to somebody that is potentially about, going to embark on this kind of journey? And I'm learning right here myself. It's always an evolution, that nobody's journey is the same. I haven't found any of them like mine yet. I'll look at the internet. I call twin flame bullshit, because I haven't found one. These people claim this is what it is. None of those stories fit mine exactly. And I think everybody will feel that. But this was a big part of mine. And you guys, you two, Jennifer and Stephanie, you're staff, you because you're having these real relationships, you're having real interactions. But for me, April, mine was not a real relationship. It was a complete fabrication in my mind. So when I'm working off of these men, especially the first one, because I said it only took me like 5 minutes to be hooked. And it was such an intense and crazy relationship. There's no way any guy would ever want to deal with what I was throwing at them. Luckily, he was in my same circles and of like mind, and he knew that it was spiritual in nature too. But what I would do, I would journal to him, and I would create, you know, like our vacations. I would create our fights, whatever it was. They were all in here. And I remember like the universe would like arrange for me to go to Vegas for the weekend. And I had a legit reason to go there, but I'd be there by myself. And I'd spend that time raging in my hotel room, purging and shifting and doing all this stuff. And I would be so mad at him. I mean, I'd be so mad at my twin. And, you know, he would have I wouldn't even tell him anything. And after I finished this whole episode, I'd write to him and purge it and journal it. And I'd tell him all the things he did wrong and how I solved it and that we're okay again. And, you know, he'd just send me a smiley, like, more power to you. But all of the stuff that went on was not real. So if you're wondering if you are experiencing one of those twin flame dynamics, one of the ways that you can, at least if you do it the way I did, step outside of it and look in and saying, are these things really happening? Because even with the second twin, who started off more real than the first one, there was a real friendship. I knew him for a while. We would, you know, have long Skype conversations. There was a little bit of interest, a little bit of interaction. But I continued with that fantasy. What started off as kind of like me just creating possibilities that I believed were really going to happen. We were meant to go on a trip together. That didn't happen. But I'm trying to, you know, pretend and manifest these real things that might happen. But he really pulled away. But because I know the twin stuff, I kept waiting for him to come back. So I believe my fantasies were real things. They weren't. They're complete fantasies too. I never went on that trip. So one of the things is that even though these, and you know, we mentioned, I don't know which video it was, but these relationships are often just not conducive to be successful.
Yeah.
My guy, he's 17 years younger than me. He lived at home with his parents. I mean, he's grown up a little bit now. This is like 5 years ago, but you know, he'd stay home and play video games. And I'm over in Texas, married with 3 kids. It just didn't make any sense. And that's one of the things too. It's like a complete opposite, and it doesn't make any sense. That may be a clue that this is a twin, because it's not meant to be easy, or not meant to be together, at least not for that push-pull part. You know, I grow, he grows, and then we come together. In my case, we won't stay together. But that beginning part is all fantasy, and they make it hard on purpose.
Yes. Oh, I can relate to that. Mine was, you know, we were a lot of opposites, lots of opposites. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a huge age difference, not even a year. I had that instant attraction. I knew.
Isn't that weird? Damn.
And everyone asked me, what do why are you with him? What do you do? Like, it was so
like,
opposite.
I don't know.
And that's all I could say. I was like, I don't know. I love him.
It's fucking heroin. I've never done heroin. But if I did, I would say it's heroin. And the separation is like the withdrawal. It's that intense. They are a drug.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I'm with mine. So we have all different dynamics when it comes to our twin flames here. Paul and I do have an age difference. We have about 9 years. And that's usually one of the, if you look up and do research, usually that is one of the things, like you said, they try to make it hard. Mm-hmm. And in my case, I was in an abusive relationship before I was with Paul. And that was my awakening, was going through my bottom with being in a relationship.
No, so, you're good.
Okay. And so with him and I had a tendency to go with people I knew, and it was usually in bad situations. I wouldn't say bad situations. I just say I grew up in a very unhealthy home, so I kind of stayed with what I knew.
What you know, yeah.
And that's the same with, I had a father that was an alcoholic. I ended up bartending and it's because we tend to stick with what we know. Paul is the total opposite of that. And that was hard for me to even deal with, just having him not be what I am used to being with. He was the total opposite, and I did everything. I am telling you, I had these urges that were so intense that it came from the pit of my stomach that I had to run. I had to get away from him. It was that whole, like you said, that whole pull and push method. And it was so intense. And I couldn't even tell myself, why am I doing this? This guy is not bad guy. And I had that need to push myself away from him. I'm fortunate because he is the most patient man in the world. He is absolutely the most patient. I never had to really explain to him why I was having these feelings and emotions. He just needed, and all he ever asked, he said, is when you do have these feelings, please just let me know. Just let me know that you're having those feelings, you want to run, just so that I know where your headspace is at that time. So that's really what opened up our communication when it came to our growth, because I'm telling you, it is a messy, dirty, crazy, up and down. There is nothing pretty. It's not one of those princess.
No, I don't think anybody can say that it's the twin flame dynamic is not meant to be pretty. It is to so both souls can start to evolve.
It is no joke, and I've had my best friends is Voltaire, a French philosopher guy, and he tells me that finding self-love through the love of another is truly one of the hardest, most challenging paths to self-love. And I have nothing to compare it to, but I'm here to tell you that my experience, it was brutal. It really was, but I don't want to scare everybody with it. It's more of a commiseration, because I am on the other side of it. My dust is settling. My heart is healing. The next part is for me anyway, is because I did come to that realization back in a few months ago. So my next part is forgiving. And who do I forgive? Do I forgive the twins for abusing me? No. I got to forgive myself, because these two men did the exact same things to me. How did they know? It was me. My soul asked their souls to provide this experience for me. So I'm not a victim to anybody. I chose to have these experiences as a young person, and I chose again to heal from these experiences, and I trusted these two men with my heart. So I cannot be mad at them. I can do nothing but show gratitude for them, because it's such again, it was all fantasy. They didn't really do anything. They just provided me with an experience so I can grow, learn, and evolve from, and I sure did. So when you get to that place, it really helps with that healing. So I was able today to come and connect with twin number one after months, maybe even a year. I can't even remember. It's been a long time since I've spoken to him, and I apologized to him. I told him I've been saying sorry to myself, but part of that, I need to be sorry to you too, because I was a pest. I was always kind, but I wouldn't leave him alone. I was relentless, and I bombarded him, and he had his own life. So in order to forgive him, I basically had to forgive myself. And I really wasn't forgiving him. I'm just trying to forgive the hurts that my heart is suffering still. And I want to unburden myself. And he came back with a very short and succinct response. It was very him. And it worked. It just released the floodgates, and I spent like a good hour crying and releasing. And so just today, I feel like I crossed a really big threshold. That's caught me on a good day.
That's what I did. I thanked mine, and I apologized for my part in it. Well, not just me being crazy, but like just the certain things that did happen. But I did. At the end, I told him, I said, I thank you because you helped me find me. Mm-hmm. And that right there is what has made me deal with it, because I did not know me at all. You know,
you don't even know how fucked up you are until shit comes up. Like, I had no idea that bothered me, but I did that, 20 years ago. I'm doing it again. It must have had an impact.
Yeah, and that's what I said, and I thought, like, before I even knew that it was a twin flame dynamic relationship, I had mentioned to him, I was like, when I started to get my life straight, I used him as a mirror. Everything that he started to trigger in me, instead of lashing out, I was like, ooh, where was that coming from? What do I need to fix? And then I would go inside and start fixing it immediately. And what pushed me and what was different in our relationship was that I'm a people pleaser. I wanted to please him. And because we had such 2 years we were together, that while I was drinking and in my addiction, it was very rough for us. So that when I did get back together, I didn't want to experience those things, so that it triggered me that when he was triggering inside of me, I immediately went in and started to fix. And that's what really excelled my awakening.
I love that. I want to put it in my own words, just to make it really hit home for people, is that I love the way you were so proactive in your growth. There was no victim coming out of you either. And it's so true, when we are triggered. That's one of the reasons I call on Facebook, I'm Kari Silver Lining Mena, because I love to find the light behind the dark. There's always something to gain from the shit. We get shit for a reason. It's not because we're victims. It's because we want to learn and grow. And when you know that, every time something bad happens to you, find out why and learn from it. Don't squander that shit. It's a gift in disguise.
Yes. It's we can go on and on about that, and you'll probably see more about the twin flames. But I wanted to ask you, so what are you doing now? Like, are you offering services? I know that you do energy healing. You have silver lining. Do you want to tell our guests, you've got a couple of shows? You're a co-host on some shows.
I do. I have the main thing I do is energy healing. That's my money maker, one of them. But I don't know why I just don't attract enough business. I just don't promote myself enough. But I am a badass healer. One of the reasons, I think, is because I don't want to take people's power away from them. Because I'm always like, you can heal yourself. You got the power. But there's something to be said about, I was telling you the other day how brokenhearted I was. I was calling out to God to come help me. I tried to connect, but I was so sad I couldn't. And that's when it popped in my head. That's when an energy healer can come in handy, is when I was just too sad to help myself. So I do energy healing, and you can look for me at silverlightinghealings.com. But the other thing I do is I host events, and I host them for my own self, Silver Linings. I'm creating my own brand. And for those, I kind of like to have just everybody come. And if you choose to present, then by all means present. I want this to be a place where people kind of come out of their own shells. So I had, at the last one, I had somebody come and do some tapping, and then I had, all the people in the email that you got, I had Tiffany come do tapping, and I had Kari come and teach us how to look for UFOs in the sky. So we did all kinds of things. It was really cool. And the other thing I have, which you guys just didn't even seem to know about this earlier, I have an entirely different show. I used to do the Shiny Show, and I have like 3 years worth of videos there where we channeled everything from planets, gods, angels, my own body parts. I channeled my own organs. And, we do water, we do dead people, we do alive people. I had so much fun with that. And the next project I started to work on was Stardust. And we actually, this is with somebody from my soul group. I have 6 of them. One was with a twin, my first twin. Eric Meadows is the second one. And I have my souls to see. Her name is Hermina. And then there are 2 others that I haven't found yet, 2 men. But I will find them because that's my job. I have a superpower of soul recognition. But what I do with my souls to see Hermina is we have a show in which she's a Mac Daddy master channeler. You guys got to have her on your show too. And she trance channels many different beings. We mostly work with a race called the Sarsar, and they are a species of tall whites that live under a mountain in the desert outside of Nevada. So another one of the ways in which I make money is by hosting these Stardust events every year. And we rent this house out in the middle of the desert. It's literally in the middle of the desert. You have to take a dirt road to get out there, and you can camp, or you can, reserve a bed inside. There's these roll-out beds, and it's like a 3-day slumber party. and we channel the ETs. It's very spiritual in nature too, but on this channel, Stardust channel, we connect with many different ET species as well as the ones that we are working with in Nevada. And I actually, we are facilitators of relationships with these ETs. And through this group, I have not only my human husband, but I have an ET husband. And so I'm married to an ET, and I have such an interesting story. The baby that we have and the children we will have share oversouls, not souls, but higher selves with the children I have now. And just quickly, I love this story. When this version of me dies, I will be absorbed into another concurrent version of me who is in existence right now. She's an Andromedan. And you're going to love this. She calls herself Beautiful Mistress, and that cracks me up because I often refer to myself as a sexy bitch. So I thought that was perfect for her. But once I die, she absorbs me, and she goes a little nuts. She can't figure out where all these memories and feelings are coming from. So she goes to a doctor, and he says, you're fine. So she goes to a spiritualist, and they say, you are having these, whatever it is, they tell her what's happening to her, and she realizes that she is being pulled towards the family that I have created here with this ET that lives under the mountain. So I cross the galaxies to come and find my family. And on the way, I stop at other planets and take notes on them because my future job with that husband, that ET husband, is to help be a facilitator of placing species on different planets in which their biology will match and they'll be able to breathe and exist. And the reason that those children are the same, have the same souls as the ones that I have now is so that when I find my family, I will already recognize them and love them. And I know this will be true because it works for me now. As you know, Jennifer, the way your heart snapped open for your guy, you got that superpower soul recognition too.
Yeah.
So I just love that story. So I have a very interesting life. So those are my two money makers, of Stardust and Silver Linings. It's going to grow. I hear I'm going to hook my stars on a group of people. Maybe it's you. I don't know. But we're going to tour the country and do these big events.
Well, that's what we're all about here at the Garden. I mean, I know these two ladies are in Canada. They will be coming down. We'll be meeting somewhere in the United States. Mm-hmm. But we're all about collaborating and helping each other because it's not just one person getting there. The best way that we can help flip this planet is by uniting and doing it together. So yes, definitely after the show, we can completely collect. If you need a speaker to come talk, I would be glad to do it. And we were actually, I'm looking at booking women's retreats or some retreats.
Uh-huh. But upcoming. My God's told me that I will kind of quit doing my Silver Linings events because it will be redundant because I'm already doing it with another group of people. And I don't know if our stars are in alignment or not, but I'm told that eventually.
I don't know. I just got chilled. I just got
1,000 people. I mean, I don't mean on the TV. I mean in the place.
Yes.
So it's still 1,000 tickets. Go get rich.
Yeah. Well, ask Stephanie. I think it was today or yesterday. I had told her because I'm launching my coaching program, and so I'm doing the Facebook ad thing, and I'm getting some traffic. But when I go out and I talk to people and I connect with them, it's like yesterday when I went to the psychic fair. It was like I opened up my mouth and it was a flock of them coming, and
wow.
I noticed it. And I was telling her, I was like, yeah, that's probably Papa telling me that I need to be out public speaking, mm-hmm. And connecting on that, oneness level, because the internet is great for us to all connect, but the point is for the energy is more powerful when we get.
Aren't those things, I've hosted several of my own. I've been doing it for a few years, and they are just so special. You're meeting your tribe, and being in the vibration of like minds just feels so good. And you go home and you have withdrawals and get a hangover. You're just crash.
We have a name for it. We call it our spiritual hangover because it's so true. It's so true. We do. We feel like crap the next morning.
It's so true. You really do crash from all that. You do. The endorphins are not what they were the day before, and you really feel the sting of it.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, this is good stuff. Do you have anything else you'd like to add or tell our guest?
I didn't talk enough yet, huh? I'm just kidding.
No, I know you did mention your website. You can check her. It's Silver Linings?
Silverlininghealings.com. That's my website. And I have some really juicy stories on there, about, my hookups with the aliens and whatever. I like to write. Well, I kind of gave up on that because it's just so writey. But I do have some fun stories in there and just to kind of tell you who I am and where I started from, and there's some links. So check that out. And then I invite you to come to come be my friend on my wall on Facebook, because I got all kinds of funny shit. People that don't even know my spiritual stuff will come and appreciate all my inappropriate. And then I have a Facebook group, Silver Lining Healings, I guess? Yeah. And then the Stardust group. However, if you want to join the Stardust group, if that appeals to you, answer the questions, because we just want to know that you're not a robot. And my partner is very protective of that group. It truly is a very safe place. You can spout off any kind of ET experience. You've had spiritual experience. Nobody will ever make fun. If that ever happens, delete. We just don't tolerate it. And it's a very loving and accepting group. So
Safe haven.
I'm joining Stardust.
I like that.
That's
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And that's what this is all about, guys. I mean, we each have a different story. We're each on this journey. We're all trying to collaborate and get different views to give you. I am so happy you joined us today. This was a great show. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to hook up soon. We're going to go have a play date since we're practically neighbors, right?
Absolutely, girl.
Right then.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us. If you liked this video, please make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the notification, follow us, go check out this sexy bitch right there. She left your information. So give us some likes and loves. Share this information out, guys. We're all here to help each other. And if you are kind of experiencing something and you don't know what it is, please reach out to one of us. We can help walk you through. You are not going crazy. That's what happened to me. They wanted to immediately put me on medication as well. Just reach out. You may be going through an awakening. It is happening globally, people. That's what this is all about. With that, we hope you have a great evening, and thank you very much.
Bye.